Have you ever heard a story about a fantastical beast and thought, wow, I wish that was real? Well, get ready to have your mind blown, because today we're diving into 10 legendary animals that you probably thought were myths, but were actually real. First up, the Kraken. For centuries, sailors whispered tales of a monstrous squid that could drag entire ships to the bottom of the sea. It sounds like pure fantasy, right? But what if I told you the Kraken was likely inspired by the very real giant squid? These elusive deep-sea giants can grow up to 43 feet long. While they probably aren't sinking galleons, a real-life creature of that size certainly explains the terrifying legends. Imagine seeing one of those massive tentacles rise from the waves. It's no wonder the stories grew so grand. The ocean still holds so many secrets, and the giant squid is living proof that sometimes the truth is just as strange as fiction. Next, let's talk about dragons. Fire-breathing, winged reptiles are the stuff of epic fantasy. But believe it or not, there was a real-life dragon that roamed the earth. Meet Megalania, a giant monitor lizard that lived in Australia during the last ice age. This thing was a beast, growing up to 23 feet long and weighing over 1,000 pounds. While it couldn't fly or breathe fire, Megalania was a formidable predator, likely with a venomous bite just like its modern relative, the Komodo dragon. Early humans in Australia would have coexisted with these giant lizards. It's not hard to see how encounters with such a massive, fearsome reptile could have sparked the very first dragon legends that spread across the world. From land to the sky, let's explore the rock. This legendary bird of prey was said to be so enormous it could carry an elephant in its talons. Famous from stories like Sinbad the Sailor, the rock seems impossible. But on the island of Madagascar, there once lived the elephant bird. Standing over 10 feet tall and weighing up to 2,500 pounds, it was the largest bird known to have ever existed. It was flightless, so it wasn't snatching elephants from the sky. However, its eggs were gigantic, over a foot long. Archaeological evidence shows that early settlers on the island would have seen these colossal birds. Perhaps the stories were an exaggeration, inspired by finding the remains of these giant birds and their massive eggs, leading to tales of a bird large enough to prey on the largest land animals. Now, how about a creature straight out of a horror movie, the dire wolf? Thanks to Game of Thrones, everyone knows about these oversized, ferocious wolves. But they weren't just a fantasy creation. Dire wolves were very real and roamed North America during the Pleistocene epoch. They were about 25% larger than the gray wolves we know today, with a more robust build and a more powerful bite, perfect for taking down large prey like horses and bison. They lived alongside saber-toothed cats and mammoths. Imagine a pack of these hunting. It's a truly intimidating thought. Sadly, they went extinct about 10,000 years ago, but their fossils, especially from the La Brea tar pits in Los Angeles, give us a crystal-clear picture of these magnificent, real-life legends. Speaking of legends, what about the unicorn? The elegant horned horse is a symbol of purity and magic. While a horse with a single horn sprouting from its forehead remains a myth, there was a real animal that might have started the whole story, the Siberian unicorn. But it wasn't a horse at all. Its scientific name is Elasmotherium sibericum, and it was actually a giant, fuzzy rhinoceros. It had a single, massive horn on its forehead, possibly up to 6 feet long. This ancient rhino lived in the grasslands of Eurasia and was a seriously impressive herbivore. Early humans would have encountered them. It's easy to imagine how a description of a large, horse-like animal with one giant horn could get twisted and transformed over time into the graceful unicorn we know today. Let's head back to the water for our next creature, the sea serpent. Countless maps from the Middle Ages are decorated with drawings of giant, snake-like monsters coiling in the ocean. For a long time, these were dismissed as sailors' yarns. But what if they were seeing something real? Enter the oarfish. This is the world's longest bony fish, capable of reaching lengths of over 36 feet. It's long, slender, and silvery, with a bright red dorsal fin that runs the length of its body, looking like a mane. Oarfish live in the deep ocean and are rarely seen, but when they do wash ashore or surface, often after storms, they look exactly like a mythical sea serpent. Seeing one of these writhing at the surface would be an unforgettable and perhaps terrifying sight for any mariner. From the deep sea to the highlands of South America, let's talk about hobbits. Okay, maybe not the hobbits from The Lord of the Rings, but something remarkably similar. In 2003, on the Indonesian island of Flores, scientists discovered the remains of a new species of ancient human, which they nicknamed the Hobbit. Its scientific name is Homo Floresiensis. These individuals stood only about 3.5 feet tall, had large feet, and used stone tools. They lived on the island until as recently as 50,000 years ago, coexisting with pygmy elephants and giant Komodo dragons. The discovery was revolutionary, proving that our own human family tree is much more diverse than we ever imagined. A tiny real-life human species that feels like it walked right out of a fantasy novel. Now, for a creature of Greek mythology, the Griffin. This majestic beast had the body of a lion and the head and wings of an eagle. It was said to guard vast treasures. This sounds purely mythical, right? But paleontologist Adrienne Mayer has a fascinating theory. She suggests the legend of the Griffin originated with ancient Scythian gold miners in the Gobi Desert. While digging for gold, they would have unearthed the fossilized skeletons of a dinosaur called Protoceratops. Think about it. Protoceratops had a 4-legged body, a sharp, beak-like mouth, and a bony frill on its head that could have been misinterpreted as the remnants of wings. These fossils were found in the same regions where the Griffin myths were strongest, often near gold deposits. It is a compelling idea that these ancient people found dinosaur bones and created a legend to explain them. Let's dive into another Greek legend, the Cyclops, the one-eyed giant famously encountered by Odysseus. The origin of this myth might be surprisingly paleontological. On the islands of Crete and Sicily, fossils of dwarf elephants are commonly found. And what's the most distinctive feature of an elephant skull? The massive, single nasal opening right in the center of the forehead. To someone who had never seen an elephant before, this large central hole could easily be mistaken for a single giant eye socket. The rest of the skull is vaguely humanoid in shape. It's a perfect explanation for how ancient Greeks, upon finding these strange skulls, might have concocted the story of a race of one-eyed giants. Finally, we have the chupacabra. This one is a more modern legend originating in Puerto Rico in the 1990s. The name means goatsucker, and it's described as a strange dog-like creature that attacks livestock and drinks their blood. It sounds like a monster from a B-movie. However, nearly every chupacabra body that has been found and studied has turned out to be a coyote, dog, or raccoon suffering from a severe case of sarcoptic mange.